Hey guys, just finished watching Daredevil, Season 3, Episode 7, Aftermath. Wow, what an episode. This episode was really interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on. Not like obviously a lot of things moving on forward with the story and stuff. Not too much fighting and stuff, but still a little bit. I like the way they do that with this episode, with these Daredevil shows, and how Daredevil seems to have it well done than compared to the other shows, and even any other show that I really watch, except for something like Legion type thing. But that's its own thing. That's really hard to compare it to anything else, really. But you have this show where this episode's a little bit more of a dramatic episode than an action-oriented episode. But at the same time, there still is enough, enough action in here to satisfy your need for the action, even if you're watching it, bit by bit, day by day, like I'm watching it right now, unfortunately. But it really is really good the way they've done that. So the first thing we see here is we see Fisk going into his secret room. That's one of the first reveals we get in this episode, which obviously we already knew. We already kind of saw the room when Fisk actually called Matt Murdock when he was in when he was in the prison during the prison fight scene. When he called Matt Murdock just before that, or when he called Poindexter just before, just when he put the gun to himself, which assumingly I guess he has eyes inside of Poindexter's room and stuff, or his apartment. And so we get to see as to where that is. It's kind of right off of his bedroom, so that the FBI thinks that he's still in there. I'm surprised that the FBI, especially such a high class target like Wilson Fisk, that they don't have any cameras inside his inside his bedroom, or even in his, like, it's Wilson Fisk. He's a criminal. It doesn't matter. They're supposed to, when they're in prison, they're not getting privacy. Oh, yes, you get to sleep in here. There's no cameras and no one gets to see you. Oh, yes, have your shower and there's no one gets to see you. Have your privacy. Like, he's a criminal. He's lost his right to privacy. So I don't understand as to why, they just have a GPS locator to say that he's still in his room, and not an actual webcam, and not an actual camera to see that he's physically alive in his room, even though, and his ankle monitor says he's in his room. You can't just have one or the other. You should have both. You have both for every other room in the apartment. Why would they have that? And why would the bathroom should not even be off limits? You should have a camera in there. It just doesn't make sense as to why the FBI would go so far for that. I mean, they trust him a little bit because they're taking his information and all that stuff, but it's kind of crazy, So that kind of bothered me there. And then we see Karen, she's getting interrogated or questioned by the FBI, by Ray specifically, she has Foggy Nelson there as her lawyer and stuff. And then they start asking a bunch of questions, and she's asking, well, why aren't you answering all these other questions that I threw on your lap? I gave you all kinds of evidence, all kinds of leads to go through. Why aren't you looking at those? And he's like, they're more interested in, why Daredevil said your name and how did he know you type thing. And I think that's quite interesting to see that. Then they end up walking out and stuff, and she sees all these phones in these, evidence bags and stuff, and they're all ringing, and they're all full of messages from loved ones asking where they are, if they're safe, if they're okay and stuff. And I think that was just a great moment. It's just, never thought of anything like that, and it's just such a, an interesting moment like that. It's kind of fleeting, you don't think of it, but just the idea of that is just so cool. I just kind of never thought of something like that, so that's kind of cool there. Then we see the FBI is starting to think that Fisk is playing them, once obviously Karen Page is, they obviously know that Jasper Evans was obviously out of prison because they saw the body, right? So they start to looking into that, where that Fisk is playing them. But then the whole problem with that is, they can't just Fisk is playing them, put them away type thing. If that gets out there, then everyone who they put away using Fisk's intel will all get out and go out. So all the work they've done will be for nothing. So I think that's really going to be interesting to see as to how they kind of get both ways type thing, keeping the criminals that the Fisk helped put away, keeping them in prison, but how do we also make sure Fisk isn't playing them. And I think that's quite interesting to see where things are going to go with that for the FBI. We see that Melvin Potter, he's in here. We find out that he made a second red suit for Poindexter, and it's not actually Matt Murdock's red suit, so I think that's going to be cool to see that. And then there's also find out that there's actually now 3 costumes, if I'm not mistaken. There's Matt's original suit from the end of season 1. and then there's the Poindexter suit, and then there's a second suit that Melvin Potter was told to make so that he could trap Daredevil there, Matt Murdock there, and he could get framed for being, the Daredevil who killed everyone at the paper place there, so at the Bulletin. So I think that's really cool there. Melvin Potter's kind of working with Fisk, but then Matt ends up fighting him, and long story short, Potter gets taken down and taken in by the FBI because someone has to take the fall. So it's unclear as to at this point whether or not the FBI is going to believe that Potter was that the Daredevil that attacked them, that did all the killings and stuff. But we'll have to wait and see as to where things go with that. He's a bit off, so I don't think they won't be able to believe that he's the right person with that. We'll have to wait and see as to where things go with that. We see Ellison ends up firing Karen Page. We don't get an actual confirmation as to what happens, because she implies that she tells him that wasn't the real Daredevil, and then when he asks who is, who it is, she won't tell him, and he kind of says, you either tell me or you clean at your desk, and we don't get any answer. Assumingly she does, because the next time we see her she's calling home and stuff. She's looking to drive home when she lives back to her family in Vermont, and she calls home, talks to her father and asks about coming home, and he says no. And that, oh my god, that scene was so good. She was so good in that. Such a great actress. Definitely can't wait to see as to where things kind of go with that, especially because there's so much backstory with Karen Page. I'd love to get a show just a Karen Page backstory, and get a full season, or not even a full season, maybe just a half a season, like 6 episodes, type thing, just diving into Karen Page's backstory and all the history stuff that it's all implied and all talked about, but we never even see. So I'd like to see that. It'd be something cool to see at some point as to where things go. And in the comic book, she does go pretty dark and pretty deep and stuff, so I think it could be cool to see as to where things go with all this. I'm not sure if she's kind of building up to that. Maybe she can at this point, because she's gone through all the stuff in season 1, all the stuff in season 2, and then all the stuff now in Defenders, and now this could be the third straw for her, and also the stuff going on in the Punisher show. So I think it's really going to be cool to see where things kind of end for her in this season and stuff. But who knows? Right now, she's definitely on a downward spiral. We'll have to wait and see as to where things go and how she kind of picks herself up from here, especially if she gets fired. If she's fired from the Bulletin, what is she going to do? I think it's definitely going to be cool to see as to where things kind of go from here. Where is she going to go, and what is she going to do next if she doesn't do? She's not a journalist, she was having money problems as a journalist. So where is she going to go now? She's going to be really in dire needs. So I'll have to wait and see as to where things kind of go from here. Hopefully they don't do some silly thing, because I feel like it's possible since we're episode 7 of 13. So I feel like the cliche thing to do would be to have her at the end of the season. She's deep in the midst of everything. She's a witness. She's she gets taken by this evil Daredevil. And everyone sees that there's 2 Daredevils fighting each other. And or Bullseye. Poindexter puts on the Bullseye costume and he takes her hostage type thing. And then she gets back into the Bulletin, so that she can write an article as a witness type thing. So I think that seems a bit cliche and the obvious way for her to get her job back, but I feel like this show never really goes that way. So I'm pretty sure that they're not going to do something cliche and predictable like that, but we'll have to wait and see. And even if they do that, I feel like they'll probably do it in a way that'll be interesting, but hopefully they don't do that on the whole. So we'll have to wait and see as to where things kind of go with her, but I'm liking where she's at right now. At this point, I could see her, if she wants to get away and get a full clean slate, she might just call up Frank Castle and be like, where the hell are you? I need to be with someone type thing. But at the same time, wherever he is, he's just like, yeah, no, you don't want to be with me. So I could see her calling him, maybe trying to contact him, but him not even answering, or not even, maybe he answers and he's just like, yeah, no, go, you don't want to be anywhere near me type thing, which would be cool to see as to where he is type thing. We see Matt Murdock at the end of the episode. It ends with Matt Murdock talking to Ray. He breaks into Ray's place and stuff and tells him that the Daredevil, that the killer who pretended to be Daredevil is in the FBI, and that kind of has Ray's intrigued. And I think it's interesting to see that, because he has an idea, and he's kind of, I think he kind of see a little bit that there were some hints, small hints that Poindexter was a little bit off last time they talked. I think it could be cool to see as to where things go with his relationship. Does he suspect Poindexter being the one? Poindexter just got laid off right in the middle of this. I think this all could be could be easy to point that. And I think if how does Ray know that? Like, I think right now, with Daredevil just saying, hey, the evil Daredevil is in the FBI, he would need some proof for that, right? So I think it's going to be cool to see as to where he gets that. At this point, at the end of it, the way he went, go on, type thing, seems like he's interested in that, and he's like, oh, that makes sense, he's kind of putting it together, and it makes sense to him, even though he's shown no proof as to who this is, and he's just going off of this guy who broke into his house, this guy's word, this other Daredevil, the Devils of Hell's Kitchen's word type thing. He doesn't know to trust him. He doesn't know why, he doesn't even know. He's just going off of Daredevil's word, and it makes sense to him. At least that's what I get when the way his reaction there. So I think that could be cool, is to see as to where things kind of go with that. It's also kind of early on. It's kind of about halfway, just a little bit past halfway, for them to start putting all the pieces together. So something's definitely going to happen, and I think they're going to put the pieces together, and then everything's going to fall apart again one more time before the end of the season. So I think that this could be the way they do that. Maybe Ray, since they've built him up as a character, and I think thinks we've already met his family like early on in the season and stuff. I think this could be where he becomes he could become this season's version of Brett Mahoney. So I think that could be the character for there. So I think it could be cool to see as to where kind of things go with that. Does he kind of suspect that Poindexter is the other character? And I think that could be cool to see as to where things are going to go, and who does he suspect to do that. Because if he doesn't suspect Poindexter is the killer and stuff, and he doesn't make that connection, then why would he even trust Daredevil? So I think that's really going to be cool to see as to where their relationship goes from that. Hopefully we pick up, I think pretty sure we will. The next episode is with Matt Murdock, or Daredevil, and Ray kind of chatting it out. Still pick up right in the middle of that conversation. So I think that could be cool to see where that conversation ends. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below, about Season 3, Episode 7, Aftermath of Daredevil, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.